pemirsa, bertemu lagi dengan saya Syafina Nasyar di CNBC Indonesia dalam segmen Person of the Month. Kali ini saya akan interview founder dan juga Group CEO dari Venteny. Sudah bersama saya, Mr. Jun. Hi Jun, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
Great.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so Jun, based on my research, I know you as a person behind this big company named Venteny. But before we go further about your company, could you please tell me about yourself?
Okay, all right. I was born and raised in Tokyo, Japan, and I'm the only child in the family. My father was actually also a businessman, and he actually came up with his own company as I was just on the same year I was born. And from there, I think he started on his own startup company ever since, right? When I was actually remembered, when I was 12 years old, my father actually took me over to the States for the first time. First time I got to see, it was actually Los Angeles, and then that was the first time to see big cars, big people, big gestures, you know, different faces, expressions, and culture totally was actually very shocking to me in a good way. And that was immediately the kind of the moment that I was actually telling my father, say, hey, I just want to actually live in this country at some point. And that was actually the beginning of me, okay, I've seen Japan, I'm living in Japan, but I want to see and I want to just dip myself into the different culture. That was actually me when I was very young. And then after that, I decided to, after graduation of high school, I was seeking for the opportunity for me to live in a country, in America for the longest time as possible, and that was the college. So I decided to actually leave Japan upon the graduation of high school, and I went to the States.
So how can you end up in Indonesia?
That's a good question. So Indonesia was something I never dreamed of ever that I would just live here in my life. Back then, as I told you, I was born and raised in Japan, and then after that, I went to US.
Yes.
Then I went back to Japan for a little bit, and then when I just came back to Japan, I actually got an opportunity from one of this most famous IT company, and they had a branch in the Philippines.
Oh.
They had the operation office in the Philippines, and that was the biggest among their group company. So and they were looking for a professional CEO of that company because it's kind of becoming sizable and scalable. But the thing is, they just want somebody to manage the office. When I got there, it's just like, I don't know how to say, super energetic. People are young and vibrate. And if you're just going to actually, it's like, if you're just going to look around, you see the new buildings, everything is on, like they're just trying to just create the higher, buildings, and also the new restaurants or new places, you know, and then as soon as they open, then the people just kind of go into that place and they make the good commerce out of it and the business out of it. When I was seeing Japan and the US, those countries are very matured, so you don't get to feel that one very often. But for this Southeast Asia, and especially in the Philippines, that was the first thing as a culture shock I was able to see. And I'm like, wow, you know? And as I was in the Philippines, I got to also have an opportunity to go around different countries in Southeast Asia. And I was actually able to see the similar tendency, the power, energy, and potentials.
From other countries?
From the other countries in Southeast Asia, including Indonesia.
Okay, so what is the concern at that time that you finally, okay, this is the right time for me to create Venteny?
Okay. So when I was working in Japan and also USA, I started with the company called PricewaterhouseCoopers. And that company's brand itself is actually very well known in worldwide level. And even not just about the name of the corporate, but also they were actually excellent in terms of providing the good employee benefits. Like a very nice office, start with that. And also nice, for example, free meals, or even the good mortgage, insurance. You know, every time, like as an employee, they were trying to put a lot of budget over the each talent and an employee to get motivated and also be more productive. And in order for them to do so, actually they were not hesitant to spend more money over the employees to actually maximize their performance. and also spend some budget for their loyalties as well, right? When I came to Southeast Asia, I was actually very also surprised in a good way, but on the other side, I saw that the employee benefit part or working environment was still not up to date compared to what I was able to see in the USA or Japan or those countries. And okay, but what if I would just be able to provide this kind of the working environment for their more efficiency or productive? That was actually one of the key that I was like, okay, employee environment is something I can take a look at. On the other side, what do you say? It's just like a financial environment for SMEs or even the individuals. When I was researching about Southeast Asia, it says more than 50% of the contributions towards GDP is actually made from SMEs.
Oh, okay.
Almost this is each countries in Southeast Asia, meaning the contribution levels are very huge. But at the same time, they are the one being suffered the most by having access to the financial services or financial institutions. Same thing for individuals. Sometimes they're actually not creditable. Sometimes they don't have enough institutions that they can actually walk into for them to get necessary financial assistance. So, okay, I see that demand, but there's a huge gap between the supply and also the demand side. So, okay, why don't we actually combine the two services all together, which is the one I mentioned, the employee benefits side, together with the financial assistance. And that was actually the key of us to just start with the idea of VENTENY. This is a very new concept in Southeast Asia, and they have heard about the service, or maybe they have heard about, okay, what's good about the working environment? Maybe this can give you a motivation, so a higher talents, or maybe efficiency. But how can you actually prove it?
Yeah.
And usually the company don't have a budget for it. So I'm like, that was actually a very difficult time. But first, before we are going to introduce our service, we have to actually kind of come in as an evangelist to actually tell them and to teach them how important employee environment or working environment is, and what actually empowering the employee brings you what. We have to kind of visualize and also to teach them. That was the first thing. So it took us a long way. Took us a very long time for us to actually be recognized or needed or importance of our service before. Yeah.
Do you have any motto or quotes from someone that you?
I don't really have quotes, but
if you can give me one line, what could it be?
One line. I think one line could be consistent and then do it until you make it.
Do it until you make it. Okay. So the next question is, where would you bring this business go?
Okay, so right now we've been running this company for 7 years already, and we started off in the Philippines. We are now in Indonesia. We have office in Singapore. But I see the challenge among the employees, and also I see the challenge for SMEs are pretty much the same in this whole Southeast East Asia. So what we would like to actually bring on is definitely we would like to introduce our service to the rest of the Southeast Asia, and even more beyond the Southeast Asia, which is different continentals, and looking forward to work with different people in a different area. Rest of the world, and get to know them and get to know their cultures, how we can deliver the service efficiently. I'm looking forward to work with the people. So definitely, there's no way I'm going to leave VENTENY for the next at least 10 years.
You have a big dream.
Yeah.
For this company.
And very excited for that.
Okay, you have a great vision. Hopefully, it would happen. In real time, in real soon.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Jun, for joining CNBC Indonesia. Nice to meet you. It's such an honor for me to interview you now.
Thank you. My
Thank
pleasure
you very
too.
much.
Thank you.
Ya, itu dia tadi pemirsa hasil diskusi saya bersama dengan Jun selaku founder dan juga Group CEO dari VENTENY. And as Jun said before, do it until you make it. Terima kasih sudah menyaksikan diskusi saya. Saksikan terus CNBC Indonesia Beyond Business.